Well, Kris, my name's Kris, and I got $50,000. How should I invest it? What's up, handsome? There are 5 things that you should consider if you got $50,000 to invest.
One shot, now the future is yours. Go! I'm turning dreams into reality. Yeah, it's one shot, now the future is yours. Go!
Check you out. You worked hard for this $50,000, and in today's video, I'm gonna share with you 5 best ways to invest that $50,000 so that you can get it working for you.
Tell your men they work for me now.
Oh my gosh, think of all the things that you could do. Man, you could buy like a boat, you could like charge it up on the credit cards, you could like buy a second house. I mean, travel, vacation, there's so many things that you could blow the money on.
Macaroons and a million balloons and performing baboons and...
Thank you, Kris. Those are all the things not to do, okay? Because listen, you've worked hard to get this seed capital together. It's like seeds. You plant them in the ground and you want to harvest in a short time later. So guess what? This $50,000, don't blow it. You want to use it intelligently, which means you've got to focus on investing it in a way that will pay you back. Okay, Kris, can you do me a favor and define what an investment is? What actually counts as an investment? Sure. An investment is an asset or item acquired with the goal of generating income or appreciation. In other words, if I take this money, whatever I choose to lay it out on, I want it to actually produce cash flow for me like dividends on a regular basis, but I also expect it to grow in value. Kris, like my car. Like my car, it's really nice. No, your car is not an investment. The moment you drive it off the lot, you've already lost 30% of its value. Kris, like my house, right? Like my house. No. Your house is not an investment. I understand that it can go up in value. It likely will go up in value, but it's a liability. Like if you don't make that payment, not only is it not making you money, but you don't make that payment, it goes back to the bank and you lose it. Oh, Kris, you mean like paying off my debts? No, I don't mean paying off your debts. Unless your debts are making you money, those things are bad debt. And if all you do is throw your cash at getting out of debt, then you'll be like a Dave Ramseyite that will never be financially free. You need to put your money in something that makes you money. The first of 5 investments that you should consider, stocks. And no, I don't mean like mutual funds. No, I don't mean like indexes like, hey, Kris, S&P 500, I'm invested in a part of the top 500 most successful companies. I'm not interested in that because the 30-year average after fees and everything is close to earning 6-7% on your money. That doesn't compound to a hill of beans over 20 years. Instead, here's what I actually mean. Invest in publicly traded companies that may become the future of their industries. Like, man, imagine 7 years ago if you had bought into Netflix, for every $1,000 you put in, it'd be worth like $250,000. Or you think of Jeff Bezos before you knew he was going to become like richest dude on the planet, Amazon. You think about Tesla. These are companies that became the future. They defined the future. And guess what? There's more of them out there. Here's what you should do. You should invest in a minimum of 15 different companies with asymmetric upside of 1,000%. Okay, Kris, you just lost me. You better be defining that. Let's just say for a moment that you had 15 of your $50,000 that you wanted to invest in companies that could become the future because a couple of those investments might produce a really high ROI. Well, first of all, I would say you need to divide this by 15 different investments, which means you're only going to be putting $1,000 in each of these 15 companies. Next, we need to define, Kris, what is asymmetric upside of 1,000%? Well, asymmetry means that there's really low downside on the investing, but there's really high upside. Let's take that $1,000 and let me give you an example here. Remember, you've got 15 different $1,000 chunk set aside and you found a company that you believe represents the future. You may have found the company that's going to represent 6G, or maybe it's Tesla's top competitor. Maybe you found something else that was going to be big in AI or robotics. And so you put $1,000 into this publicly traded company after doing a lot of research. Well, asymmetric risk means it has really big upside, but really low downside. For example, what's the worst case scenario on this $1,000? Well, it could go down 100% in value, in which case your money would drop to nothing and you'd lose everything. However, what would happen if it went up? 1,000% return. That means 10 times increase. $1,000 becomes $10,000. So the low downside is I could lose all my money, The upside is I could make 10 times my money. That's what asymmetric risk means. And here's the idea. If I buy a total of 15 of these investments, I just draw these little cookies. They represent my $1,000 investments. They kind of look like that. And let's just say that this one loses value and this one never goes, and that's not going to be the big one, and this one fails and that one doesn't work, and this one and this one and this one. And in the end, only 3 of them end up making it really big with huge returns. Well, I've lost most of my original capital. I've lost most of the time, but a few of them went to the moon because they were moon shots. That type of asymmetric risk allows a small amount of money over 5, 7, 10 years to become a lot of money. So remember, when I say invest in stocks, what I really mean is invest in successful businesses and the ones that literally might go to the moon. But number 2 is a little bit different. It's actually about buying an existing business, actually a business that you own. Check out this old geezer right here. Dude's about to fall over literally into the grave, and he's going to take his business with him. Old dude.
How many times do we have to teach you this lesson, old man?
Okay, I'm kidding. I know that wasn't super nice. I'm going to get old someday. But did you know right now that 86% of businesses go unsold and that most of them are held by baby boomers? We have the largest transfer of wealth in our history, and yet most of these businesses will not be sold. And you know what? You can Google local business brokers and find a list of businesses for sale in your area. Let me share with you something I learned from my business mentor, Roland Frazier. He said, Kris, businesses fall predominantly into one of 3 categories. Category number 1, you have businesses that you can buy for $50,000, maybe up to $500,000. On the other extreme, category number 3, you have these companies that are selling for $20 million, they're selling for $100 million, they're selling for $1 billion. And then right in the middle, you have this kind of awkward zone where businesses are trying to sell for $1 to $5 million. And here's essentially what he taught me. He says, it's easier to sell a $100 million company than a $1 million company. Why? Because a lot of people can scrape up the money, $50,000, $100,000, $500,000 to buy a business. Big companies are looking for big acquisitions. They don't want to buy a bunch of tiny little $1, $5, $10 million companies. They're looking for something big and meaty, $50 million or $500 billion, right? Something huge and crazy, which means that there's these $1, $2, $3, $4, $5 million businesses that literally just aren't going to get sold, and baby boomers do not know what to do with them. And there's an opportunity for you to take $50,000 and move up into a big business that could make $500,000 a year, hundreds of thousands of dollars a year of profits, and you might be able to leverage yourself into the game with as little as $50,000. Number 3, I want to talk about commercial real estate. And I know what you're thinking. Wait a second, Kris. Commercial real estate, $50,000? Could you actually buy like some big old property, like an apartment complex or like a really big restaurant for just $50,000? I mean, that sounds awful technical and sounds like I'm going to need way more money. Check this out. Many people think that you need millions of dollars to get into commercial real estate, and they'd be wrong. In reality, the bank will give you 50 to 60% of the appraised value, and if you can find a way to increase the value, the bank may lend you the entire purchase price. One of my other mentors, Dolph DeRoos, who's like the king of commercial and he's done it internationally all over the world, he explained this to me. He says, Kris, did you know if you go and find a big commercial building and it is empty, that the value of the property is directly proportional to how much revenue it's generating? Well, if it's empty, guess what? It's not producing any cash flow, which means its value goes down. What Dolph does is he says, I look for empty buildings and then I actually go and find a tenant. If I can find a tenant for a property, he said, normally I can double the value. And instead of the bank just saying, well, you need a 50% down payment, instead what ends up going down is something very different. The bank ends up realizing that you now have doubled the value before even purchasing it. And so even though I've agreed to buy it for $1 million, it's worth $2 million now, the bank says, hey, the 50% has been covered because you actually doubled the value of this property, and $50,000 might need all you need to get in this. You might need a whole lot less. Number 4, this is my bread and butter. This is residential real estate. You can drop $50,000 on a property with a 20% down payment, and guess what? If that property is producing a 25% ROI, over 20 years, $50,000 can be turned into $4.3 million potentially. Small fortune. The 5th one might shock you a little bit, but it has made me so much money. And it's called mentoring. Forbes notes that mentees are promoted 5 times more often than those without mentors. The fastest way to become a millionaire is by surrounding yourself with people who've already done it. I'm not talking about coaches. I'm not talking about wannabes. I'm not talking about parents, and I'm not talking about peers and friends. I'm talking about human beings that have already said, wow, I want to be a millionaire. Then you're hanging out with someone that's done 10 million or $100 million. I got mentors literally that are worth over $1 billion. And you know what? It means they're good people for me to learn from. In fact, you've heard some of the name dropping I've done over the course of this video because I want you to understand this is a life that I live. And this has literally led to some of the juiciest returns that I've made in real estate, in business, frankly, just about every money-making opportunity out there. Got to tell you though, most people share the exact same concern. Kris, dropping $10,000 or $25,000 or $50,000 when I could put that into an investment, just, it feels wasteful. It feels like, it's not going to be a good use of my money. I've worked hard for this. But let me tell you, my mentors, on average, I get somewhere between a 5 and a 10x return. That means that I drop $10,000 on one mentor, I expect to make $50,000 to $100,000. I drop $100,000 on another mentor. I paid over $1 million for some of my mentors. And at the end of the day, I turn that into even more money. Why though? It's because they know the shortcuts. It's because they have the connections. It's because they know the people. It's because they can show you the path that most people don't even really know exists. So if I had a choice between putting money into an investment or putting money into a mentor, if I put the money into a mentor, they should be able to get me not into one investment, but 5 times as many investments, and often without any money whatsoever. So now I'm actually hacking the most important knowledge on the planet. How do you actually make money in real estate and business without needing any money at all? On that note, I'll never forget when one of my mentors told me, Kris, you can make lifetimes of money from what you can learn from a single mentor. And that has most certainly been true for me. Which is why, if you've enjoyed this video on how to literally take $50,000 and multiply it, how to grow it, how to turn it into a small fortune, there's actually an opportunity for you to partner and mentor with me as a multimillionaire, showing you the ropes, but getting you into property and helping you absolutely crush it. If you want to know what that journey looks like, click the link below and I'll show you what it's all about. Hey, thanks for watching today's video. If you're committed to becoming a multimillionaire, make sure you subscribe to my channel because I'm here to unlock your financial genius. And if you're thinking, Kris, I just kind of watched the video because I was kind of curious, but man, $50,000 is a little rich for my taste. You might want to check out this video right here where I show you how to make as much money as possible with just $10,000. Old dude. No, there's nothing okay. There's nothing okay about that. It was so disrespectful. Sorry.
It's ironic.